We are more sophisticated, more lethal, special operations capable, and will soon be more deployed than ever before.
Well, more deployed than ever before. Not sure about that one, sir. Unless you missed the last 20 years in the desert. Let's take a look at Operation Green Dagger now that we've had some time for the dust to settle.
We're new, we're different, and we're the future. Green Dagger is a 2-month deployment to the USMC training facility Twentynine Palms in the Mojave Desert, California.
So for those of you who haven't been to 29 Palms, it's a shithole. I feel bad for these guys having to go there. At least it's not the summer. So a 2-month training exercise. You may have heard about the little 5-day surrender, dominated, all the things that came out of the UK press. What really happens in something like this? What's the reporting after the fact? It's not a UK versus US thing. Let's get to the facts here, shall we?
U.S. Marines were driven into submission by their British counterparts during a training exercise held deep in the California desert last week, according to a report in Britain's Daily Telegraph newspaper.
The British press ran hard with this one. I don't know they had their facts all together because, again, it's not a UK versus US. There's other allies there. Most of the time, there's a conventional force, and we'll call it an invading force or an unconventional force. And they're mixed and matched, and that's what happened here. You had the Royal Marine Commandos mixed up with some MARSOC guys, with some conventional guys. It wasn't one group fighting another group. It's a little more to it than meets the eye in the press.
The paper reported the group of Royal Marines employed new tactics that helped them get the better of the American troops who were on home soil.
Well, there's some new tactics reported. I won't get into the he said, she said about GPSs on vehicles. It's kind of irrelevant because it's like talking about, do you like Florida or Florida State in football? It's all a Florida team, right? We're all on the same team. But the press went wild with this. And they didn't have any of the facts. And anybody who's been on one of these exercises or trained with Allied troops, you realize most of the time it's not, say, the Israelis against the U.S. or the UK Marines against the U.S. Marines. It usually doesn't work like that.
To the Telegraph, Exercise Green Dagger involved the two nations facing off against each other in a competition in which the sides were tasked with taking out one another's assets.
So it wasn't, again, exactly the two nations facing off. In the case of the 40 commandos you heard about, there were some MARSOC guys embedded, some conventional guys. And we seem to also forget about the other allies mixed in here. Understand we had some UAE, some Canadians, some Dutch. There's a lot of moving parts here. I'm not sure the reason for the reporting. I'm not sure it really does anything of value.
Contact far left!
What our role is within 3 Commando Brigade as the Armoured Support Group is to provide protected manoeuvre to 3 Commando Brigade. For Green Dagger specifically, we haven't deployed with our Vikings.
The Royal Marines dominated the U.S. in the 5-day simulation, it said, with U.S.
And that was the reporting. Dominated. And for those of you guys that have done these, even on a small scale, it's never UK versus US. It's never really set up that way. Now, some people in the comments have said, well, the Royal Marines are special forces, and the U.S. Marines are just basically like conventional military. And if that were the case, why would you do the exercise? In other words, why would you have the Royal Marines train with the U.S. Marines if truly they were that far apart? I put a poll about this, and several guys, I guess from the UK, chimed in. So either they're worth training with or they're not. You wouldn't have the JV against the varsity for any reason. That's a little bit of a confusion as well.
Force is asking for a reset less than halfway through. At one point, the Royal Marines had taken out or disabled almost all the U.S. assets, the Telegraph said.
There was no surrender baked in the cake. Realizing most of these exercises are purely for the commanders, right? For the junior officers, maybe the XOs, but for the officers to understand tactics. It's not the guy humping the gear that's making any decisions here. It's the officers figuring out, okay, some tactics. We're going to embed this. We're going to try that. And I'm not making excuses for anybody. I'm just trying to understand the reporting and then looking back. from the initial reporting to now, there's been some changes, and ultimately everybody who did this benefited from it. I'm sure the guys in the UK were glad they got out of the desert in 29 Palms, which is again is a shithole.
The Royal Navy told Insider that the victory was decisive. In a statement, it said the mock battle concluded with a last-minute enemy assault which was repelled, leaving Allied forces in control of over 2/3 of the entire battlefield.
Now, I've never been to 29 Palms since all these improvements, but the place is very vast. It's a place you don't want to live. And from my understanding, they do have some great mock-ups of villages in the Middle East. Remember, too, they had civilians playing roles. They had conventional forces playing roles. A lot of moving parts here. And to make it a who won, who lost in this context, the media is somewhat short-sighted. And quite frankly, whoever wrote the articles really didn't know what the hell they were talking about.
The Navy said the British commandos won decisive battles early on and gained ground from their enemy, but with the U.S. Marines pushing into Allied territory, Royal Marines and their allies carried out raids behind enemy lines to stop further counterattacks.
So as the reporting goes, and this video does a good job of quoting the articles, there was the Royal Marine Commandos and their allies. So you had some MARSOC embedded, some conventional, I believe some Dutch were embedded. So it was a unit of allies against another unit of, we'll call it supposed bad guys. So that was the exercise. And then reporting on this sure is confusing.
The UK forces celebrated online in the aftermath. A tweet on Saturday by 40 Commando, a subdivision of the Royal Marines, said UK forces triumphed in an epic close-quarters finale. The US Marine Corps did not immediately respond to Insider's request for comment.
Now, the response by the U.S. Marine Corps now has been somewhat pathetic, like there's no winner or loser, there's no surrendering. But the bottom line here is everybody, all the troops that are involved, get a benefit. Commanders get a benefit. Is it good to have a natural big brother, little brother rivalry? Of course it is. I'm sure the troops thought it was fun and laughed about it. And you get some U.S. Congress people coming out talking about woke culture in the U.S., I know in the UK there's been some troop reductions that have caused some concern from the citizens. I don't have a tinfoil hat on, but I've just never seen an article run so fast on something that is relatively minor.
Exercise Green Dagger was also designed to test U.S. Marine Corps units before any overseas deployment, according to the Telegraph. The exercise, conducted over a 3,500 square kilometer zone, also featured actors playing the role of civilians.
You got to remember, too, there's Marines, U.S. Marines on ships all the time. We got 218 or more bases, a lot of Marines there. So you got Marines training all over the world. It could be Camp Hansen, could be 29 Palms. So 29 Palms is a real small part of where Marines will train for different activities. So these U.S. Marines on ships doing exercise, on mews, on floats, this is an ongoing thing. So the 29 Palms element is somewhat unique. Where else can you train in the desert? That's as close as you can get to the Middle East.
Telegraph said. Throughout this deployment, our focus has been on integrating game-changing capabilities from across the commando force to deliver disproportionate effect in the face of a free-thinking peer adversary, Lieutenant Colonel.
I'm going to stop with the politician speak. I think these exercises are great. They've been going on for years. Never seen one as widely reported. But I think the camaraderie is good, and I'm sure the troops had a good ribbing with one another about it. Thanks for watching.